Dueling Dialogues is brought to you by our affiliates at IX Web Hosting. Click the banner on the rightleftchronicles.com to get up to 40% off your first year of the best hosting on the planet. Today's episode of Dueling Dialogue is brought to you by Saucy Eva. Gma's marinade is coming soon to a plate near you to gourmetize your meats and proteins. Coming to you from that once-forgotten artery that pulses through the center of the continental United States and into the heart of the Ozarks, Grace Matthews. Looking in from the northern border, our Canadian friend, along with his countrymen feeling the effects of U.S. political issues, Connor Murphy.
Welcome to Dueling Dialogues, episode 29. I'm Connor Murphy, out here on the wet coast with Grace Matthews in the heart of the old US of A, Springfield, Missouri. Hi, Grace.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a pretty good weekend. I mean, it was cold and rainy, but I'm getting that kitchen is pretty much done. I'm getting the handles on my cabinets, and I can actually see my stove and use it, so that makes me very happy.
Yeah, I can imagine being a cook and baker and doing all those things. You must have been in serious withdrawal the last little while.
Oh my gosh, I have been, but getting back to some sort of normalcy, so that's good.
Yeah,
that's
there's
good.
Lots of news over the weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there is some very disturbing news. We do keep revisiting this idea of sexual abuse in the workplace. And we're not talking about us ordinary people. We're talking about high-powered people in high-powered positions. Bill O'Reilly, apparently, before Fox gave him a $100 million contract back in March, he had settled personally, outside of Fox, a $32 million sexual harassment suit with Lis Wiehl. Yeah. Lis Wiehl, just to give a little background here, Lis Wiehl hosted a segment on O'Reilly's show for a long time called Is It Legal? Lis is a lawyer, a legal analyst, a mystery writer, and law professor. She's also a radio broadcaster. She graduated from Harvard Law School. She has 17 books. I believe all of them have made the bestseller list. Mm-hmm. She was once married to high-profile Skakel attorney Mickey Sherman. Their relationship ended in a divorce about the time he was sent to prison for tax evasion. Lis Wiehl's dad, Dick Wiehl, was an FBI agent, and on at least one occasion, I heard her say that him and O'Reilly had spoken often in reference to his knowledge, about the FBI and criminals. So he was a source that O'Reilly used for projects and some of his writing. She also did a suggestive segment on Don Imus's radio show with his wife, Deidre Imus. It was called Blonde on Blonde, and it was very suggestive. She also acted as Bill O'Reilly's attorney. So that makes this just, the levels of bizarre are just amazing here. She endured this for 15 years.
And she was a lawyer.
A lawyer, a Harvard lawyer, okay?
Okay.
We're not talking about,
just any community college law degree.
Exactly. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Harvard. She was living in the Northeast. She grew up in the Northwest. It is hard for me to understand why she would have endured 15 years of this.
Well, he didn't have the money he has now.
15 years ago? I mean,
that's a little motive.
That's an interesting point. And like I said, people listening, we're talking about empowering victims today. We are not talking about children. But it is important to understand that most people have had a bad sexual harassment or assault
Me Too.
experience.
Me Too.
The Me Too it happens almost as much to young boys as it does to young girls. The target age of vulnerability with children is between 7 and 13 years old. 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys are victims of childhood abuse. I believe it is much, much higher on boys, but boys do not tend to become victims. And yes, I am saying there is difference between boys and girls. It is okay to say that. Men are not going to be anybody's victim for the most part. You know, being a victim and becoming a perpetual victim are two different things. We are also not talking about people that are being held in captivity.
Right.
Okay? We are talking about people that at least have some education, can go home at night, use public transportation, and probably have access to their own bank account. If not, they can at least use transportation to get someplace for help in the case of domestic abuse. Workplace abuse is much different than domestic abuse. You can walk away. You can quit a job. You don't have to be anybody's victim at the workplace. You certainly don't have to endure it for 15 years. In Hollywood, with the Weinstein cases, this went on for years. It went on for at least 4 decades. Now, I understand that many of them in the beginning were starving artists, but towards the end, they had millions in their bank accounts, several homes, and, Academy Awards. I mean, they're very powerful people. They can walk in front of a mic and people are listening. You can toast his ass. She could have toasted O'Reilly.
So why did they endure it for so long is a good question. And the numbers too. 6 coming forward with Weinstein, really? More like 600.
6. Oh, well, 6 is with Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, with Bill O'Reilly. Okay.
Yeah, 6 that we know about that were paid off. I don't know whether she was number 6 or number 7. Now, because the others were paid by Fox News.
Okay.
Why Lis was paid only by him suggests that the situation took place mostly outside of work.
Right.
Or outside of Fox. She was his attorney. She did complain in, I guess, the filing with the court, which it ended in settlement. So where she filed really in the end didn't go anywhere. But what she filed was he had also sent her in emails sexually explicit material in emails, but these were written by other people and in his email, that people had emailed him. I mean, he's a famous person.
Right.
You get weird emails. We know that. You get weird emails, So it's a little peculiar how you could complain about that, in my opinion.
So her coming forward last, that just sends up some red flags for me.
It does. It just doesn't make sense that she would have accepted it. She made sexual harassment allegations against him in early 2017. So it was early this year. He paid her $32 million. Fox was not a party at all to this. I'm reading from the court document here. Her allegations and affidavit referred to repeated sexual harassment, a non-consensual sexual relationship. What the heck is that? I mean, is that rape? I mean, why wouldn't you just call it rape or assault? I don't know what that is. And sexually explicit emails that O'Reilly had sent her. O'Reilly claims that he forwarded these emails to Wiehl, who was working as his lawyer.
And he never wrote those emails? That's
the claim. And of course, as part of the settlement, I'm sure, she, in a final affidavit, and that is not here, claimed that he didn't do it. Okay, so that's after
confused.
That's kind of almost like a gag order. I don't know, where you say if you give me the 32 million, then I'll say you didn't do it. Okay, I don't put a lot of stock in that. Certainly, she had to convince somebody somewhere, especially him, to write a check for $32 million.
Yeah,
I mean that's a lot of jack.
That is over the top. Like
that is
32
crazy.
Million. Like, yeah. I'm real curious what was in those emails.
Yeah. And if they really were emails like that fans or, you don't really call them fans. What do you call them? Stalkers sent him.
Stalkers, yeah.
Yeah. Then how could his attorney,
I know.
Turn that around on him?
Exactly. He's a client. Well, I guess it depends what he said in those emails when he forwarded them.
Yeah, I mean, whether he made a joke or whatever. And I really think we're getting into some dangerous territory here. Yeah. Okay? Because what can you say and what can you not say?
Oh,
I mean, how are we going to be in society? I would just prefer that people learn not to be a victim, It doesn't mean you're, take care of it at the moment. I mean, I had a crazy situation. Now, this is hilarious, but it is wrong on so many levels. There is a restaurateur in this town. He owns a few restaurants. He's got some money, right?
Yeah.
So me and my buddy, we go. And it's also after I've had that avian flu, right?
Right.
This is my first time out after I had that. This was 2 or 3 years ago. So we go to a bar to have dinner. We sat actually at the bar, We often do that, just to chat with whoever's at the bar,
Yeah.
It's fun. So anyway, the guy's brother waited on us and ended up buying dinner, right?
Right.
So I say thanks at the end, give him a hug. And later on, he finds me on Facebook. And he is totally inappropriate and wants to have a threesome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What I just cut him off, which if you knew how ironic that is with the two of us, I mean, that's just so funny. It's cute almost. But the point is, I could have went to the restaurateur who does have some money and sued because this was totally inappropriate. He totally stalked me to find out how to get a hold of me and then said many inappropriate things. But you know what? I just cut him off. First of all, I started asking him questions about why he would want to do something like that. You start asking them questions, and they know to a certain extent that things aren't okay in their head.
Yeah,
okay?
It's going south.
Like you set their on fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I took care of it.
Chopped it off at the knees.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't want to do that. But you have to empower yourself. And I don't think that telling our little girls that playing with Barbie dolls is bad and that being a woman is bad is the answer. I don't think that is. I think you should be proud to be a woman. You should be empowered.
Yes, I agree.
You don't need to. Sometimes bad things happen to people. Bad things even happen to good people. We know that. We are victims at times. But to continue to be a victim when you don't have to be, you're making a choice, because if you are choosing money all the time over pride and not being a victim, then you need to take a look at yourself.
Yeah. And I only hope that someday all of society backs that empowerment. So when somebody does step forward, that we don't go defending somebody like Weinstein. Well, it's part of the business and shrugging it off.
Exactly. But these are the same people. And I know you hate it when I say this, but I have to say it anyway. These are the same people that brutalized women that didn't vote for Hillary because it wasn't the right female thing to do. That we were controlled by men. These people, we find out almost a year later, these people were more controlled by men than any of us here in the Midwest, controlled by men and money. Let me tell you a little bit about what people make that make choices to walk off of jobs. Lower middle class right now is $35,000 to $75,000. Okay? They don't probably walk on the air for that little of money.
Right. Okay,
the middle class is 100,000 plus. These people have millions of dollars. The average income in the United States is $51,939. I know people all day long that have walked off of jobs because of the way they were treated, because they were in charge of their own lives. And people are getting sick and tired of it. these people are two-faced. They are projecting onto us something that's happening to them. There were comments about people, not on the coastlines. The coastal elite were claiming that the people that voted against Hillary were watching HTV and Fox News and listening to what the strong, powerful men in their lives were telling them. Okay, these are the same people that apparently kept the idea of Weinstein and others a secret for money.
Right.
They put up and became victims. You don't have to be anybody's victim. So, in the end, people are retaliating now. We are abandoning football. We are not going to movies. And these statistics are out there. And we sure as hell are not looking to the likes of so-called coastal elites for our politics. Nearly 50% of us have quit trusting mainstream media. And I heard a giant bashing yesterday about people like us doing opinion blogs and opinion podcasts. People like us are starting to scare them. But we're starting to scare them. The people want to listen to something real. They don't want to fabricate a story. They want to talk about the news and dissect it and try to find a shred of truth in it. They want to be empowered with the news themselves.
I think a lot of people are realizing that a lot of what they are getting in mainstream media is just propaganda, basically.
Absolutely.
It's to get all the masses of people to start thinking in one fashion, and that's exactly what they want to do.
Yeah,
Stop people from thinking,
Exactly. Rachel Maddow on these 4 men that were killed in Niger. She fabricated the story about Exxon and Tillerson and Chad and the ban on travel and Trump, and she lumped it all together and made a story. Even the HuffPost said it was ridiculous. Now, when the HuffPost does not stand behind a left-winger like Rachel Maddow, this is a crazy story.
Yeah.
I can take a bunch of players and just make up my own story. It's not that hard.
Right.
But it's unethical.
Oh, totally. Totally.
That's not opinion. Opinion is you take a fact and you base an opinion on it.
Right.
That's what we do here. I have laid out on my table, and you do too, a bunch of facts. And we just talk about what we think about those facts.
Right.
We don't fabricate some wild story. If you want to do that, write mysteries.
Yeah, it's fiction.
That is fiction.
Right. I also believe that opinion should be separated from actual news, because a lot of people will read what they think is a news article and believe it as fact. And
yes.
In all actuality, it's an opinion article.
Well, and you have got to be, forthright about that. It's just like us. This is opinion. We throw facts out there. When we're throwing facts out there, we say they're facts.
Yeah, just search opinion on the rightleftchronicles.com and you'll figure out really quick. It's all opinion, because we've got opinion everywhere.
Right. And that's what we certainly do have as opinion.
Yes.
And, we haven't really even mentioned it, but in Canada, sexual harassment, sexual assault, pedophilia is much lower than it is in the United States. Do you know why?
Probably because of just the population. We struggle with the same stuff, the same problems, for sure.
Right.
There's not the suing aspect that goes on. You come forward and you tell your story, and then there's usually some criminal charges, and you're not getting a check for $32 million.
Yeah, that's totally American made, isn't it?
Yeah. So, when you remove that element out of it, I think that's a big motivation in the U.S. for somebody to go after.
And I'm wondering if that empowers you. Okay. You're not going to get any money And believe me, I kind of think if you're harassed, you should probably get some money. I don't think you should sit there for 15 years and let it fester. Okay? There's a difference, you know? But at what point, and I'm almost afraid to say it, do you become a party to it because you let it go on so long?
Right. And how many victims are there between the first, the first incident and the last one when the person came forward? How many other victims are there in between that may have been prevented from being one of the Me Too?
Well, yeah. And if you do what Gretchen Carlson did, and you come out and you endured it for some 10 years, and then you come out when they're getting ready to can you and sue and say, I did it for women everywhere. The hell you did. If you're doing it for women everywhere, you're not letting them get by a second time.
Yeah.
You cut it off the first time.
Good point.
Otherwise, do not come out because I'm just going to barf.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous to let it go on for years and years while you're making millions of dollars and then sue for 20 million, 32 million, 13 million. All these numbers are coming out. On O'Reilly, Weinstein apparently didn't have a dime left, which nobody's going to get anything out of him. But if you go on, but certainly he helped a lot of people make money.
Right.
They certainly could have walked, but you just don't let it happen a second time. You take care of it first time.
I understand the intimidation factor, though. I mean, like O'Reilly, Weinstein, and others, and I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more of them out there. The power and the money and everything that, political friends, it's intimidating. I do understand that.
I understand it to a certain extent if you're the hairdresser or the makeup person. If you are on-air talent, if you can fall back on another career, lucrative career, you've got, you're an author, you're a professor, you've got a Harvard law degree. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because you have to be stronger than that. At some point, you just cannot keep being the victim. Now, in the case of Lis Wiehl, I saw and heard inappropriate things that Don Imus said to her on the air. I mean, if you want to call him inappropriate, he's a shock jock.
Right.
But is she going to turn around and sue him?
Oh, probably.
I mean, they had a segment called Blonde on Blonde with his wife and her, and they would ask her about her dates. They would ask her, there was all sorts of really suggestive. He would ask inappropriate questions. And so.
But that was the theme of the show, wasn't it?
Well, it was the theme of the show, but okay. Where does it start and where does it stop?
Yes. There's no easy answer. It's kind of all in the gray.
Well, and it's hard to say. If you go to the Missouri the United States Department of Labor, and you read some case studies about illegal and probably legal immigrants that are working on farms in California, and what some of those, whatever you call the guy that manages the farm workers is called, the foreman, what they do to some of those women in the office, and they don't really have a choice, okay? They will starve. They don't qualify for some social services.
Right. So they don't have those choices.
They do not have those choices. They do not have enough money in the bank to walk. They don't have an education to fall back on. They've got children. In some places, they have been impregnated by this foreman. So they got his kids. Wow. Okay, it's a very ugly situation. And this, to me, demeans them. Those kind of women that don't have a choice, or children that do not have a choice. I worked with children. I worked with sexually abused children. It is horrible, and they have no place to go. So when the people that have some place to go don't, it really makes me angry. I have seen little kids that think that's how you please adults, little 4 and 5-year-olds. It's despicable. And so for a grown-up that could walk and take it in their own hands, by God, they need to do it.
Right.
They need to do it for all the people that can't do it.
Yeah. As hard as it is, you have to come forward. You got to empower yourself to do it. And we as standby people, an audience to them, we got to support them.
Yeah. Well, you know what my daddy used to say? He said, you me once, it's your fault. You me twice, I'm an idiot. You me 3 times, it's my fault.
Right.
And I think he wouldn't really talk about, that was a bleep. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's fool me.
Okay, thank you. Fool me. Okay. Who knows what Daddy said? I think he said the other thing, but it's just sad, and it strikes a chord with me. And I wrote an article on this before. I did tone it back, but I have seen what it does to children. And it never goes away.
Right.
Because when it happens to a person as a child, they have to have a lot of therapy and a lot of help to be able to look at that situation as an adult, because they always look at it throughout their whole life as a child. That means they remain a victim. You remain a victim until you look at it like an adult.
Right.
So when these adults with money, with education, don't turn it around on the perpetrator, it really makes me think about these children and these women that are basically in a sort of captivity. There are also women that are being kept in a captivity and a marriage for fear that their children will be harmed or that they won't have the money to feed their children.
Yeah.
They're basically blackmailed. They're not only abused, they're blackmailed.
Yes.
And they don't oftentimes have a job, money, education. They simply do not have the means to break out of the victimhood.
Right.
Now, in our town, we have a place called Harmony House. It has been newly revitalized. A new building has been built. You know why? Because there is a 70% rise in domestic abuse in this town in the past 5 years.
Wow.
Because of the lack of good paying blue-collar jobs. There's a definite correlation. So, it's very, very sad.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you there.
So we have to say, hashtag nobody's victim. Don't be anybody's victim. You know, once you're a victim, you flip it around.
Empower yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
And as a third party, those are your friends and family, so we need to give them support.
Yes, we do.
No
and a place
questions.
to stay.
Yeah, no questions.
A safety net.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can all do things better.
That's correct. And as you say, we agree on that.
Yes, we do. I do. I can see your work with kids. I can see why you have such a strong opinion on this.
I do. And it doesn't necessarily fall down the correct party line.
Right.
I do. But we don't always agree. But life's a journey and we're all in this together. We need to remember that.
Yes.
So thanks for listening. Godspeed, Connor. Godspeed to real victims. And Godspeed to all of our friends out there.
Godspeed, Grace. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Dueling Dialogues is brought to you by our affiliates at IX Web Hosting. Click the banner on the rightleftchronicles.com to get up to 40% off your first year of the best hosting on the planet. Today's episode of Dueling Dialogue is brought to you by Saucy Eva. GMA's marinade is coming soon to a plate near you to gourmetize your meats and proteins.